Deep within the tropical Cerrado savanna forests of Brazil, biologists stumbled upon the scene of a completely baffling crime. They kept discovering the bodies of South American rattlesnakes, among the most fearsome and deadly creatures on the continent. But the strange part was that they had died without any sign of gunfire, no human footprints, and none of the chaotic claw marks normally seen after clashes with jaguars or wild boars. The bodies of these venomous snakes were almost perfectly intact, except for one chilling detail. Someone or something had started by chewing off their heads first. To understand just how astonishing this case is, you first need to know who the victim was. The South American rattlesnake is nothing like the rattlesnakes you usually see in Texas or Arizona in the United States. Its venom is one of nature's most perfect hunting weapons. It not only destroys tissue and blood, like the venom of its North American relatives, but also contains a powerful concentration of neurotoxins that can paralyze the entire body. A single bite can shut down muscles, cripple the respiratory system, and threaten the life of a healthy adult man within just a few hours. This snake has no reason to hide. Its weapon is simply too perfect. Before striking, the keratin segments of its tail vibrate to produce a dry, chilling rattle. That is not just an ordinary sound, it is a stern warning. Back away or face the consequences. And in the wild, whether it is a mountain lion, a wolf, or even a human, the moment they hear that rattle, they all back off. But this crime scene proved the exact opposite. There is one creature that not only refuses to flee from that terrifying warning, but actively seeks it out. To this predator, that frightening sound is nothing more than a beacon leading straight to its prey. So who is this mysterious killer? Is it a giant beast clad in natural armor, or a bird of prey armed with steel-like talons? You will never guess the true identity of this hunter. And when the infrared camera footage is finally revealed, in the next section, you will understand why scientists call it the ghost of the jungle. Stay with us, because one of nature's greatest showdowns is about to begin. After months of placing hidden camera traps deep in the forest, researchers finally captured the attacker on film. And the culprit had no legs, no claws, and no fur. It was a jet-black, glossy snake gliding silently across the forest floor without making a single sound. Scientists call it the Mussurana. The footage captured one of the most authentic and brutal confrontations in the natural world. On the screen, a large rattlesnake lay coiled among the dry leaves, completely unaware that a hunter was closing in. The Mussurana approached as swiftly and silently as a shadow. Sensing the vibrations, the rattlesnake sprang into action. It rattled its tail furiously and raised its head ready to strike. The Mussurana did not stop. In a flash, the rattlesnake lunged forward with its triangular head and clamped its jaws onto the Mussurana's body. Its two long fangs sank deep into the flesh, injecting an enormous dose of venom, enough to bring down a large mammal. Under normal circumstances, the Mussurana should have convulsed, become paralyzed, and collapsed within minutes. But no, it did not even blink. That terrifying venom seemed little more than a minor scratch. Despite the rattlesnake's fangs still being buried in its body, the Mussurana pressed forward, opened its massive jaws, and seized the rattlesnake firmly by the neck. Instantly, it wrapped its muscular body more than 2 meters long around its opponent and tightened its coils. This was a hunting technique designed for total control. The rattlesnake struggled, desperately trying to inject more venom, trying to bite its attacker again. But the Mussurana's living coils only tightened further, exerting tremendous pressure on the chest and cutting off the blood supply to the prey's brain. Just a few minutes later, the rattlesnake stopped resisting. The victor then calmly opened its mouth and swallowed its enormous prey hole, starting with the head. The truth is, the Mussurana is not venomous at all. That's right, it relies entirely on muscular strength to overpower its prey. But the question that has puzzled scientists for more than a century is this: how can a creature made of flesh and blood be immune to rattlesnake venom? It does not have armored skin, the fangs clearly pierce right through it. The secret lies deep within its bloodstream, an evolutionary miracle that even the honey badger and the mongoose would envy. And that's exactly what we're about to uncover. In the animal kingdom, eating venomous snakes is not uncommon. You have probably heard of the honey badger in Africa, or the mongoose in Asia, predators that regularly hunt cobras. And in the United States, there is the eastern indigo snake, famous for feeding on Texas rattlesnakes. However, the way the Mussurana resists venom is an entirely different masterpiece of nature. When a honey badger is bitten by a snake, it can still lose consciousness and needs time for its body to filter out the toxins before waking up and continuing its meal. But the Mussurana remains completely unharmed, fighting from beginning to end without ever slowing down. Why? Over millions of years of evolution, the Mussurana's body has developed an absolute defensive system within its bloodstream. When rattlesnake venom enters the Mussurana's body, its blood serum immediately releases special protein macromolecules. These proteins act like biological magnets. They instantly attach themselves to the toxins and lock them down before the venom can reach the nervous system or destroy the Mussurana's tissue cells. To put it simply, before the venom has any chance to take effect, it is neutralized by the Mussurana's blood and expelled from the body. What would be a medical emergency costing hundreds of thousands of dollars for a human is to the Mussurana little more than a spicy seasoning that makes its meal more interesting. It is a highly specialized creature born for one purpose: to control populations of venomous snakes. But the story of this snake-eating animal does not end with dry scientific reports. It changed the medical history of an entire nation and was even printed on banknotes. You heard that correctly, a snake was printed on money. How did a pitch-black, frightening-looking reptile become the guardian saint of South American farmers? The story of a daring doctor who placed a Mussurana together with 17 of the world's most venomous snakes at the beginning of the 20th century, will leave you completely astonished. And wait, at the end of the video, I will reveal the only weakness of this seemingly invincible snake. Even the ultimate hunter has a terrifying natural enemy of its own. Keep watching. Travel back in time to Brazil in 1909. At that time, the country's economy depended heavily on coffee and sugarcane plantations. But one nightmare constantly haunted the farmers' venomous snakes. Thousands of people suffered snake bites every year after accidentally stepping on jararacas or rattlesnakes while working. Amid that desperate situation, Dr. Vital Brazil, the founder of the legendary Butantan Institute, decided to search for an antidote. And while collecting snakes to study their venom, he discovered the strange behavior of the black Mussurana. To verify his observation, Dr. Vital conducted a groundbreaking experiment. He released a Mussurana into an enclosed area together with several highly venomous jararacas. What happened next became part of history. The Mussurana moved like a master predator. One by one, it attacked, subdued, and consumed every venomous snake. It did so calmly, without rushing, but with absolute precision. Records from the Butantan Institute show that within a single year, one Mussurana completely eliminated 17 notorious venomous snakes. The event sent shockwaves through the scientific community at the time. Dr. Vital Brazil published his discovery, and the Mussurana immediately rose to become a national symbol of science and medicine. Its significance became so great that in the 1990s, the Brazilian government decided to honor this creature. If you held a 10,000 Cruzeiro banknote circulated from 1991 to 1994 and turned it over, you would see a dramatic image, an illustration of a Mussurana overpowering and swallowing a venomous jararaca. Human societies usually print great leaders, presidents, or magnificent landmarks on their money. Printing an image of one reptile devouring another on a national banknote was an exceptionally rare honor in history. It was not a symbol of fear, but a symbol of protection. Today, ranch owners across South America regard this snake as a treasure. In the dry northeastern region of Brazil, local people affectionately call it the pet snake. They understand one simple rule. Wherever the Mussurana appears, venomous snakes are nowhere to be found. It is a silent guard that demands no salary, needs no fences, and requires no warning shots. It only needs to be left alone to do its job. However, as the famous writer George R. Martin once said, "In nature, no king remains undefeated forever." The Mussurana is undefeated against rattlesnakes, undefeated against jararakas. It seems to stand at the very top of this deadly food chain. But another exceptional predator is hiding beneath those layers of rotting leaves. A tiny, brightly colored creature armed with a weapon capable of piercing the Mussurana's immune defenses and killing it within seconds. How does this overthrow of the reigning king take place? The secret awaits in the final section. It is time to reveal nature's hidden trump card. The Mussurana may be immune to the venom of most snakes in the Americas, but there is one dangerous exception, the true coral snake. Remember the previous section when I explained that the Mussurana's blood can neutralize rattlesnake venom? That is because rattlesnake venom mainly destroys tissue and blood. But the coral snake is different. It does not belong to the same family as the rattlesnake. Instead, it is a distant relative of the aggressive cobra species found in Asia. Coral snake venom is a pure neurotoxin with an entirely different molecular structure. When a coral snake bites a Mussurana, the champion's blood defense system becomes completely useless. Its sponge-like proteins cannot recognize this unfamiliar toxin. The coral snake's venom attacks the central nervous system directly, completely blocking the signals sent between the brain and the muscles. The process happens in an instant and cannot be stopped. And just like that, with a single bite, the life of the snake-eating specialist comes to an end. The proud hunter ultimately becomes an easy meal for a snake far smaller than itself. That is the most brutal yet beautiful truth of nature's law's balance. No creature is allowed to become powerful enough to disrupt an entire ecosystem. Strength always comes with weakness. Every ruler has a vulnerability of its own. The rattlesnake terrorizes countless creatures, yet falls before the Mussurana. The Mussurana rules the savanna forest, yet is defeated by the coral snake, a perfect cycle with no end. Invincible against venom, this ghost of the savanna is now falling before its most terrifying natural enemy of all human expansion and prejudice. When it is young, the Mussurana has a beautiful pale pink color, but as it matures, it turns completely black. Its dark, large, and intimidating appearance causes many uninformed people to mistake it for a dangerous venomous snake. As a result, instead of protecting their silent benefactor, many people kill it the moment they encounter it. Combined with the loss of its rainforest and cerrado habitats due to deforestation, Mussurana populations are declining at an alarming rate. In the brutal natural world, some heroes never wear capes. They quietly carry out their mission of cleansing the ecosystem without seeking any recognition. The rattlesnake uses sound to warn the world, but the Mussurana makes no sound at all. It simply acts. On our channel, we believe that every creature, no matter how frightening it may appear, carries a greater purpose. We hope today's journey into the mystery of the Mussurana has given you an entirely new perspective on these villains disguised as benefactors. If you enjoy our channel's unique storytelling approach and want to explore the most hidden and authentic corners of Mother Nature, press subscribe and turn on the notification bell now. Every like you leave is a tremendous source of motivation that helps our team continue exploring the wild world in greater depth. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again in the next mystery.